Hey, welcome. Season 2. That's not a game. You can see right here. I am watching Not a Game. That right there and that reflection in my window is the Ohio State against Indiana game. It's middle of second quarter. Indiana's winning. Clearly, neither of these teams are teams, and this is certainly not a game. Oh, it looks like Ohio State must have just scored. Oh, now it's 14-13. So we got ourselves a little bit of a ball game heading into what it looks to be about halftime. But yeah, it's just it's if you're playing Indiana and you're worried that you're going to lose, you're not a team, and that's not a game. So let's get that one out of the way early. Not happening tomorrow. Wisconsin plays. That's not a game either. Then Saturday. There's a bunch of games. None of them really matter. At the end of this video, I'm going to break down. I had the privilege of speaking today for a few minutes about week one with a friend of the program, Harden Byers, who will clearly show his colors when he picks out what he thinks is a game this weekend. It's probably not the game you think, but in his opinion, that's a game. So let me just suffice it to say this, that, it's fall. There's the smell of fall in the air and football. And I have a feeling that you're on edge. You're excited. You're ready to go for this football season. But there's probably, I would guess, if you're a fan, there's something that's been missing. I would argue that what's been missing is just a weekly dose of kind of reality to temper the unrealistic emotional fervor that you've wrapped yourself up in around whatever team you think is a team or whatever game you think is a game. So I'm going to do my best this year to bring you a weekly analysis of the games. I'm headed to London this week, tomorrow actually, Friday. Shows you how much there's games. I'm leaving the country because there's just no games. I'll be back next Friday. We'll do episode 2. I'll go a little bit deeper into some of the teams, but as far as right now, there's no teams and there's no games. So to find something better to do, I'll preview next week for you. The end of next week, we'll see if there's something worthwhile of your time. But I'm going to leave you this week with a conversation that I have with Harden Byers just to break down a few of the things and why games are games or teams are not teams. But before I go to that, I'm going to give you one example of the ridiculousness that I read just for you, my public. This is a story from ESPN. Okay, this is on ESPN's website, and here's what it says. It's the first time since the AP preseason poll began in 1950 that the number one team is facing a top 3 opponent on opening weekend. So they start by referencing some other place that there's a couple of teams that are playing this weekend. And then it says this. It's the best non-conference game in the past decade, according to ESPN's pregame matchup quality. So according to us, this is the best game in the past decade. And then it goes on to say, and it features 2 of 5 Power 5 teams with the best chance to go undefeated this season, according to ESPN's FPI. So according to us, and by the way, we happen to be televising the game. According to us, these are the 2 best teams of 5 that have the best chance to go undefeated. It's the hyperbole is it's ridiculous. Don't believe the hype. Come here and I'll tell you what's worthwhile to watch. And this weekend, it's nothing. Okay, that's it. I'm going to leave you with a quality conversation, short but sweet, that I had with a good friend, Harden Byers. I will see you next week. All right, so Harden, this week we got Ohio State against Indiana, not a game because if you're worried about Indiana and you lose that game, that you're not a team and you're not a game. So that's not a game. Then Friday night, you got a couple 8-9s. You got Washington playing Rutgers.
Yeah, there's a big game on Saturday.
All right, so
there's a big game on Saturday. Georgia plays App State. Georgia plays Appalachian State. It has to be a game. It's on ESPN. Why would it be on ESPN?
All right, so ESPN is the hype machine of every game is a game.
SEC Network, it's ESPN.
ESPN is that every game is a game network, and it's pitiful what ESPN is doing to the popularity of college football. Watering down the fact if every game is a game, no game is a game, and with ESPN, every game is a game.
Every game is a game. It's a game.
It's not. So Georgia, first of all, Hardneck, I hate to break it to you, Georgia, they're not a team this year. Georgia's not a team, and for sure
they're going to play Notre Dame. The next week
Notre Dame is not a team. For sure, Appalachian State is not a game. They're not a team. It's not a game. And I'll so right now, because I have to talk about this one, the Alabama Florida State game, which of course everybody would think is a game. It's not a game. And here's why. Here's why this is a little bit of the ESPN factor. If you go back like right after the national championship game last year, and you looked at the two early polls for next year, Florida State was not rated this high. Alabama's always kind of number one or number two. Either Ohio State was one or Alabama was number two. But ESPN, as media hype machine, has tried to get Florida State. In fact, for a while on the ESPN poll, Florida State was number two, and they were advertising this game, which is on ABC, as a number one versus number two clash. So the whole thing is a hyped up game, and just for that purposes alone, it is not a game.
Yeah, but it's not only Alabama and Florida State. They are playing the first collegiate football game in the new Mercedes-Benz Falcon with a 360-degree vision thing. It's amazing.
It is beautiful, but it is yet to be seen if that's a stadium. So right now, that is two teams that right now, as of yet, are not teams playing in a stadium that's not a stadium, which makes it, for the most part, just not a game.
Okay.
It might be entertaining to watch if the only thing in your life is college football, but in the grand scheme of things, as much as ESPN would want you to believe, Alabama at Florida State is not a game.
Exciting this is. I got to go watch paint dry.